Hello, everyone. I'm here to talk about Zodiacal releasing and the continued debate about that topic. We went to Norwalk this year again in person, and I was approached by several people asking, you know, what do you think it says about Zodiacal releasing in the Greek text? Our group is reading it, and we have issues with the fact that we don't even see Zodiacal releasing in the text and things. There's several groups reading all translations of Valens, and now, first of all, I want to say in some ways I'm not the right person to address this issue because I haven't ever watched the astrology podcast, not even 1 hour of it. I have never actually studied Zodiacal releasing. I know how it works. I don't know how it works on my chart. I've never looked into it. You're probably saying, well, how can you have never studied Zodiacal releasing? I thought you were a Hellenistic astrologer. And actually, I am a remedial artist. I'm a remedies artist person who has read the ancient Greek text in ancient Greek because I'm also a translator. And I mean, it's not that I don't think the astrology podcast is worth watching. I just am literally so busy with my students that I don't get an hour. I don't even watch TV. We work here 12 hours a day, and then we go out and have production meetings from 10:30 to 11:30 at night, and that's after reading and sharpening the saw all day. And so, I've just never. I don't really have a lot of time to watch other astrological content creators. And but what I'm starting to get upset about is people are afraid to challenge the Brennan team about this whole thing. And first of all, I want to say, what do you think is going to happen to you? Um, you don't even live in the same city as them, number one, and um, maybe some of you do, and I just saw Patrick Watson at Norwalk. Super nice person. I love those guys. As far as, I hung out with them in Cumberland, Maryland. I made that video. You guys have probably seen the Cumberland, Maryland video. That was me behind the camera. Like, those guys are Chris is not my friend. We don't hang out, but it's like I'm not afraid of those guys. That's not why I have a bodyguard. We have a bodyguard because for crowd control mainly. Now listen, I just want to say though that I am open to sitting on a panel where there's a debate about where Zodiacal releasing is, what it is it in the text? But listen, I'm not the person to say it is, it's not in the text, it is, it's not, because I don't even know. The last time I spoke to Brennan, he said, if you want to know where Zodiacal releasing is, you should have asked me. And my response to that is, well, I can read the Greek. If I want to know where Zodiacal releasing is in the text, I'll refer to the Greek, right? But Shane on our team, he's saying, hey, listen, if we're gonna do this Zodiacal releasing debate, I have to learn more about Zodiacal releasing. I got to go in there and learn the technique and all this stuff. And my point to that is, okay, you can do that, and thank you for doing that. But I don't think our job on the Moira Press team is to study Zodiacal releasing. Our job in the debate would be to bring a book to the debate of our translations, and maybe the Greek itself, and we could open up to our if Chris were to tell us all during the public debate where the Zodiacal releasing chapter is, I could open up our book and read that chapter and just what we translated. Now, we didn't consult the Schmidt translation. I never read Riley's translation. I've never read the other translation. So all I know is that in my mathematical, autism mind rendering, I uncovered a certain thing, and what we could do is look at that and compare it to Schmidt's translation and also Riley's translation. Now that I would be there for. I am there for that. And I think we could also take the Greek, and I could totally help linguistically deconstruct the Greek and say this is why there's differences here. This is what the Greek says. We could actually get out the Greek dictionary and go through all the Greek. I'm happy to do that piece. What I suspect is happening is, and I talked to Patrick Watson a little bit about this in the lobby at Norwalk, but there's this vague technique, not vague technique, there's like a, Valence produces a lot of techniques. I never got into the technical part of Valence because I'm more of a philosopher. I'm a teleologist. I got really into the teleology of those books because I also read the Tetrabiblos, I read Ensoulment, I read the Bible in Greek. So my focus wasn't to extract the techniques from Valence. My focus was to read all the ancient books and kind of get a the gist of what was going on back at that time. So you see how I'm not the expert to go in and say like Chris is wrong about zodiacal releasing because I don't really know. I don't even, because I didn't really look into the techniques of Valence. What I did was look into the philosophy of Valence. Like I love the parts where he'll be like, well, the reason to read a chart is blah 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 blah, and that's the stuff I'm really interested in. Now, I mean, but I do think I would put a call out to the astrological community to say the next phase in the Valence saga would be to compare all three translations, especially in terms of zodiacal releasing. What do the three translations say? The Gehrz translation, Riley, and Schmidt. All three of those, what do they all say? What does the Greek say? That will answer your question about why zodiacal releasing was, made how it is. I mean, I think what it is a technique in Valence that Schmidt gave a name to. He called it zodiacal releasing. Valence never said, there is a technique I would call zodiacal releasing. I know that because I read it in Greek and there was never that piece. Does that mean that the Brennan team is wrong for hyperbolizing this technique? No. I mean, they're just, I think, Dimitri is saying that it's Schmidt who kind of plucked out and coined that term. Schmidt coined a lot of terms, sect as well. People think sect is in the Greek. Well, actually, that word is classification. Like I always call it nocturnal and diurnal classification, because a sect is a class or a school of thought. And Schmidt said, I like sect, which is okay. That's kind of stylized, and that's great. I mean, it's one way to say that, and the community has coined that term and kind of colloquialized it. But does the word in Greek say sect? No, it says class or classification, the nocturnal class, the diurnal class. So it's a similar thing with zodiacal releasing of there's some technique going on in the Greek, and then Schmidt coined the term zodiacal releasing. Dimitri's saying it's something about releasing by zodiac sign or something like that. But do you see how I'm not the right person to say Chris is wrong? Because I don't know. I've never watched the astrology podcast. I don't know what zodiacal releasing really is because I never read it in Greek. I just never, there was never a part where I was like, oh, there's a zodiacal releasing thing. It's the same with perfections. There was never a point in the Greek where I was like, oh, there is a perfection. That's also a term coined by Schmidt, and that's everywhere. So what I would encourage us to do is not be lemmings. I mean, lemmings follow each other and jump off a cliff, and they're just, they're all like, this one podcast is everything. Everything that this one person says is everything. That would be lemming behavior. I think what we want to do as astrologers, since it's a philosophical art, and that's I think the word is dialectical, where you kind of fight back and forth. I think we're more like philosophers who fight back and forth in order to uncover concepts, and so, or debate back and forth. I mean, we don't want to go lemming on the astrology podcast. That's what we don't want to do. It's like, I often ask astrologers, what kind of astrologer are you? And they're like, I'm Hellenistic. And it's like, okay, if you're only watching one podcast on astrology, I don't know. I mean, I guess you're a disciple to that school, that one teacher. I mean, I guess if that's what you would call it. But I personally am not a lemming type of learner. I'm learn from a bunch of different teachers. Like when I went to Kepler, I learned from Demetra and Robert Hand and, Georgia Stathis and like I learned from a bunch of teachers. So I think in the spirit of being a well-educated astrologer, you should look at all the translations. I mean, that's what's available to you at this point. And to only watch one podcast and say, I know astrology, well, one person's lens on astrology. That would be like taking one women's studies professor's classes and saying, I'm a women's studies professor myself. Well, I'm sorry, you probably have to take women's studies classes from a bunch of people. No, I really hope I'm not ruffling your feathers with this video. I do have a bodyguard, so if you're mad at me, that's fine. it's not gonna hurt me. You can't get to me anyway. I mean, and that's the thing is like I'm not afraid to ruffle the feathers because I'm a scholar. I am adherent to the text and the information that is going on in astrology. I'm not adherent to one person. I'm not a sub to a person. I'm a sub to astrology itself, the most divine art and science that ever lived. And like, listen, please, please look at those translations. Do the work. Okay, I would love to hear what anyone finds. Remember, I don't know the first thing about Zodiacal releasing. I'm not pretending that I do. But I really, if you do want access to the Moira Press translations, which we keep behind a kind of, what is that, a wall where we have the covers concealed and everything because that's what Valens wanted. But if you want a box set of those, please hit me up. Or if you want to buy one at a time, I can show you where to do that on Amazon. Okay, all right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful day.